Caucus meeting, and now I'd like to call the regular council meeting to order. We are at the Twinsburg Government Center. It is August 23rd, 2022. The time is 7:30 p.m. Shannon, would you please call the roll for the regular council meeting?
Mr. Bellin, or Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mr. Post?
Here.
Mrs. Labby? Here. Mrs. Walker?
Present.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
All right, at this time, I'd like to have the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And I guess I'll lead us this evening. Father, you guide and govern everything with order and love. Look upon the assembly of our city's leaders and fill them with the spirit of your wisdom. May they always act in accordance with your will and their decisions be for the peace and well-being of all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Moving on, item number 3 is the approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting on July 12th. Did everybody have a chance to review those minutes? And if so, is there any discussion regarding the minutes from July 12th?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
Shannon, when I texted you, was that,
Yeah,
Did you
those
read-
have been adopted or
Okay.
incorporated into.
so I don't have to say those?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Just, I mean, you can if you want, just so we don't leave anybody hanging here. You can explain
Yeah,
that.
why don't you go ahead and share with us, Ms. Levy?
In the minutes, it said that Mr. Fury had to step down from being council president if he wanted to run for council, and it should be mayor.
Gotcha. Your scribblers there. Good catch.
I mean, that was a little. And then the other one, I thought it was just in one of the summaries, if the words were transposed. That's all.
Okay. Any further discussion about the minutes? All right, we have a motion and a second. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
All right, approval of the minutes passes 7-0. Awards and presentations.
There are none.
All right, audience participation. Shannon, anybody
Yes,
participating?
we have 2. First, we have Sue Clark.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening, Council, Acting Mayor, Law Director, Sue Clark, 9845 Crestwood Drive. Before you guys went on summer break, I spoke to you about how it looks from residents' perspectives when you say you care. So today I'd like to offer some things to think about and maybe some things to change. First, we are too big of a city not to have a complaint form available for employees or residents when it comes to council members, a board member, a mayor, or a city employee. You guys need to get a procedure in place. Other communities have them. Second, if we are referred to by name, we should have the right to come back up before council and address what was said. You can still write rules to follow, but when we are called out, we are expected to not call you out by name. We should deserve the same respect. Third, we have the same residents coming every meeting, mentioning the same subjects like grass cutting, signs, potholes, junk in yards and parking lots, cars in yards. It would be nice if we got a response in those meetings or at the next meetings to our questions and our concerns. Some of these things are talked about for months, 9 months, 18 months, 12 months, with no response. Fourth, I've asked 2 previous council presidents during the council meeting when you get to unfinished business, new business, miscellaneous business. Could you address the residents and ask them if they have a question instead of us making us wait till the next meeting? You guys talked about the CIC before in a meeting. We didn't know that it didn't fall under council, but we weren't allowed to even ask the question. We had to wait. Sometimes it's hard to remember what happened 2 weeks prior to what's happening. Fifth, I would like council to consider changing council rules to allow residents to speak on any subject. Get rid of the 3-item topic. It's important to hear what we have to say. You're representatives of us. If we come and there's 11 people who want to speak on trash, they should be heard. It shouldn't be stifled. I come to these meetings, sometimes you get participation, sometimes you don't. So count it as a night where you had none. But actually, every resident needs to be heard. I want to believe that you guys do care. Your actions need to align with what you are saying. I would like you guys to consider this, and in the next meeting, I'd like a response. Don't keep making us come here and ask the same things over and over and over. With your consideration, I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Clark.
Scott?
Next, we have Mike Turl.
Okay.
Mike Turl, 9930 Forest Lake Drive, Twinsburg, Ohio. Good evening, Council, Mayor Interim. Welcome back to work. Before I get started, have there been any changes in council rules? Because in the 8 or 10 years I've been coming here, there's been 3 or 4 changes, and I never know when they're going to be the same or when they're going to change or what the changes are. Are we kind of like the same as 6 weeks ago still? We haven't had any new? Okay,
Nothing
just so.
changed over break, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barr. I ran into Mr. Barr. I call him Scott when I see him in the public. He calls me Mike. He calls me Mike in here too. He's at the gas station, and we're just getting ready for the weekend. Actually, I think I just got off my lawn tractor, and he reached out and shook my hand. First time that we had a conversation in a while, and it was nice.
A good conversation.
It was nice being on that note. And you reached out to me and you said, let's try to work together from here forward. And I'm all about that. It's all I've ever been about. It's all I've ever come in here for. Try to work with you guys. And sometimes better luck than others. But I do appreciate that offer, and that's what we are looking for moving forward. On that note, I called Mayor Scafidi, left a message. I text messaged Mr. Fury. I don't know, he might still have me blocked on his phone, which I think is kind of illegal if I'm supposed to be able to contact my representative, but whatever. We are doing a question and answer session on the Twinsburg Roundtable page, as we've done several times before. We did it just last fall for the school board candidates. It worked out really well that the school board candidates were able to get their messages out. A lot of people didn't even know anything about these people, and they voted for this person when they were going to vote for that person, and it worked out. It educated the public. The people had a chance to really get to know the candidates, ask their questions, and see how they would respond. So I am doing this again for the mayoral candidates. For those that would be interested, this is done with complete transparency, as everybody loves transparency. One of the candidates has it splattered all over the place in his handout. Questions will be posted in a polling format by the membership. I don't even participate. I just kind of I put up the post and let the people do their thing. So questions, you will see who the questions are from. You will see what the questions are. You can have 2-3 days, and the question that gets the most votes, I don't even vote on it. And you can see exactly who voted on it. You can see what the questions are. So there's no way that I'm controlling or manipulating this thing in any shape or form. And if there is something that appears that I am, let me know, and we'll do what we can to complete that transparency of the process. But going along the note of we care and we want to communicate and work with our people and everything, this is a perfect opportunity for it. This page has 14,000 members. Not everybody is from Twinsburg, but most, if not all, have some kind of tie to Twinsburg. We already have 2 of the 5 candidates. The third is still on the fence. And we have 2 others who I hope to hear from one way or the other. It's, like I said, a good chance to speak to your constituency and see what their concerns are and address their concerns and issues. And I hope to hear from Mayor Interim Scafidi and Council at Large Bill Fury soon on this, so we can put this thing together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Turl.
That's all we have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Walker, did you have something you wanted to respond?
Yes, I wanted to
Mrs. Clark.
respond to Mrs. Clark. Do you have a copy of those procedures that you want us to look at? Or can you email it to me or give it to me later on and share it with all of council? You could do it when we dismiss. Yes. Yes, okay. Right. And Shannon, can you make copies for all the council? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sue. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker.
You're welcome.
Any other comments as far as audience participation? No. Okay. All right, council communication and committee reports. Mr. Post.
We were on summer break, so I enjoyed that. Did not attend any meetings, but thank you. I have nothing to report on.
All right, Mr. Fury.
Thank you and good evening. On July 14th, the CIC had a meeting. We elected a new board president, which is Mr. Barr, and looked at some drainage issues that are adjacent to the lawn property that we have for the lane property off of 82. Still working on a downtown development agreement, and the next meeting was scheduled for August 11th. At August 11th, we talked about the appraisals for a property that we have on 82 that we might sell to be able to reinvest in additional properties in the downtown area. We talked about clear treeing that. We also talked about going forward with an educational program on the downtown development with historical sites that, and we were going to reach out to the school board to talk to them regarding that action, as they would have to partner with us to do that. The next meeting of the CIC is scheduled for September 15th at 5 p.m. in council chambers. On July 21st, I attended the Architecture Review Board. There were 4 cases that were addressed. Case 220737 was a Dayflower resident that was putting an additional garage in. Case 220740 was a sign by Window Nation from Fast Nines of Bedford. Case 220741 was a single-family home for Vale Drive. And case 220743 was a re-roofing and vinyl siding for Associated Properties at 9783 Ravenna Road. All of these cases were passed unanimously. The next ARB meeting was held on August 4th. Case 220844 was signage for the Take 5 car wash on 91. We had case 220845 for 2700 East Aurora Road, which is the Ninja Challenge sign. Case 210767 was a detached garage on Ravenna Road. Case 220846 is 11504 Ravenna Road, a new single-family home construction. And case 220847 was a mausoleum that was as a replacement in the back of Crown Hill Cemetery. All those cases passed unanimously. There was an ARB meeting on August 18th that Ms. Walker was pleasant enough and helped me out by covering it. There were 2 cases that night, 220737, which was 10242 Dayflower Road, a residential garage addition, and case 220848 Shepherd Trail, which was a residential addition by the homeowners. Those also passed unanimously. Today, I had a Treasury investment meeting with with Eileen Stanek, our finance director, and the mayor. And what we reviewed were the investments that the city has in regards to municipal investments. And what we're looking at, or what we're working with, are 5-year or less investments that are safe, liquid, and giving us a good rate of return. We currently have $13,621,000 in securities, and they're yielding a rate of about 1.5% year to date. We're expecting that to rise as interest rates have just gone up, and that gives us, we're estimating the income on that to be about $210,000. In the past, before we put this program into effect 6 years ago, we had money in either the Star bank account, which got some interest, or savings accounts, which weren't yielding anything. So over the course of this, we brought in about $1.3 million in the last 6 years in interest. With interest rates going up, we're expecting even more so next year. We're not putting any additional monies in at this time. And again, with the Star bank account, we have $2 million in cash available. Again, this is a program that's been in place since 2018, and it's working out well for the city. Regarding current finances of the city, our general fund balance to start on the statement of cash for July, which is available on our website, we had $12.4 million when we started. As of today, as of the end of July, we're looking at increasing that balance to $15.1 million, or a $2.5 million increase. Our unexpended balance, or monies that we have available to us throughout multiple funds in the city, I've never seen it this high. We have $36,295,000, and we're expecting to close with an ending balance of all of our funds plus $30 million. So things are going well financially for the city. On August 31st, next Wednesday, the Red Cross is going to be at the Hilton Garden Inn again for their blood drive. They're going to be there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can sign up online for the Red Cross so that you can donate blood. There is a free concert this Saturday, August 27th, where we have Rock the Park, so the Twinsburg Rock the Park area. It's Amplify Faith. It's a non-denominational Christian concert that's free to the public that starts at 6 p.m. There'll be food trucks, things to get to drink. It'll be very family-oriented. If you're available Saturday night, please come and join us at Amplify Faith. And that's all I have currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fury. Mrs. Walker.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My committees have not met. However, I did attend the ARB meeting for Mr. Fury, and he did give a report just a few minutes ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Mrs. Levy.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Good evening. I attended the Twins Days Parade. Is that me, Mark?
Is anyone phone there or microphone?
Nope.
Mine's not.
Mine's here, but it's always.
I attended the Twins Days Parade, and I wanted to thank Adam Kukowski for the use of his beautiful 1998 Little Red Corvette. Hey. Bucket list. Fun stuff. I was able to help with souvenirs all afternoon. There were 2,152 registered set of multiples. We're sure there were a wealth more. Kudos to the Twins Days Committee. It's a very well-oiled machine, and they work very well with our service department and all the volunteers for helping it make Twins Days a success. We had raves from Twins, and it just paints the city in a very, very positive light. So thank you to everyone who participated in that. I attended a couple of district and commission meetings during our vacation. And I wanted to shout out to Sue Clark, Paul Levine, Mark Little, Lori Stewart, Leonard Taylor, just for their diligence and their thoroughness in their efforts to redistrict Twinsburg. Huge help from Shannon, who provided maps and helped them in their endeavors, but they went above and beyond, in my opinion. They didn't leave any stone unturned, so thank you very much. It was a big job, and they did it well, so thank you. I did attend the CIC meeting, and I find our new Economic Development Director, Rebecca Ziegler, to have a wealth of experience, and she's diving right in, and I think it's going to be all very positive for the city. Next Jedi Committee is September 12th at 6 p.m., and the next Parks and Rec meeting will be this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. right in Council Chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Labby. Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. Good evening. I hope everyone had a happy and safe summer. I had the pleasure of playing in the Joshua McCarran Memorial Golf Tournament on July 15th. It was an incredible event, and I would like to thank everybody that had a hand in making it happen, especially Lieutenant Brian Donato for spearheading the event. The amount of time and effort that he puts into that is absolutely on display there, and we're very lucky to have him running that. I attended this evening's Capital Improvements Board meeting. We talked about 2023 capital budget requests from police, dispatch, and fire. The Finance Committee will attend future CIB meetings on August 30th, September 6th, September 13th, September 20th, and September 27th. The Golf Advisory Board met on July 19th. We didn't have enough members for a quorum, but we did get some updates on golf operations and golf course management. The golf is actually up 9% versus last year. All of our carts will be due for new batteries before next season. We've started that process. At that time, we had swapped out about 50% of them. We lost 14 large trees in a storm in May. We fixed yardage markers and 900 sprinkler heads over the summer. We're working on a culvert pipe replaced that was on hole number 14, and we're working on installing a drain on hole number 15. As with most of the rest of the world, staffing is an issue. College kids are going back to school, so we're trying to backfill with part-timers. Jim did anticipate needing 2 T-mowers as part of his capital requests for 2023. The next Golf Advisory Board meeting will be held on September 20th at 6:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. And the next Public Works meeting will be on Tuesday, November 8th at 6 p.m., also here in Chambers. Nothing further this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. Over the break, I just had one meeting to attend. It was the planning meeting, and that was held on August 15th here in Council Chambers. There were 2 items discussed. The first was a lot split and consolidation, in this case a lot consolidation of 2 parcels off of Cannon Road, which is an R2 district, and that was passed unanimously by the members of planning. And lastly, and we will have a resolution on it this evening, there was a conditional use permit for a residential communications tower, or like an amateur radio tower, if you will, ham radio type tower, at 8960 Gettysburg Drive, which is an R4 residential district. That was passed unanimously as well by the members of planning. Mrs. Levy brought up during the caucus meeting if any of the surrounding neighbors took issue with that. Just to the contrary, we actually had a letter of support from one of the neighbors, the adjacent 8960. So that'll be on discussion for later this evening. We do anticipate a planning commission meeting in September, although a date hasn't been finalized, but as soon as that agenda is published, we'll make sure that it gets out on the website. That is all I have for my report, and that moves us on to the mayor's report and/or Mr. Scafidi's council report.
Thank you, Mr. Lauer.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here, council. It's nice to have my colleagues back. I was a little lonely here over the summer, but so thanks for being here tonight. It's nice to see you guys. A few things that I want to report on that I partook in during the summer, or I partaken in. First of all, we had Twinsburg. You know, I just encourage everybody not to count Twinsburg out, because we've had expansions, we've had ribbon cuttings. No matter how big or how small, you know, Twinsburg's open for business, and people are coming here, and they're opening their businesses. And just a few that I attended, Moldwright, one of the companies on Highland Road, they had a groundbreaking this summer, and they're doing an expansion, and this is their third expansion here in Twinsburg. So they're invested. They're investing their money in our city, and they're here to stay. And again, not only one expansion, two expansions, but this is their third. So, I want to give a shout out to them. We've had a few ribbon cuttings, as a matter of fact. No matter how big or how small, 6th City CPR opened up on Ravenna Road. That's that's a small business. It's one of our residents opened that business up there. The Necessity Spa on East Aurora Road. That's another small business that opened up, did a ribbon cutting, and they're operating out of our city. Now, what we have coming right now is Alltech Air Gas. They'll be cutting a ribbon tomorrow with their facility, and then we have CrossFit Soul, which is a new gym here on East Aurora Road. That'll be having a ribbon cutting as well. So, in a time where we really, new businesses are great to have, and we want them. And again, I don't care how big or how small they are. I want people to know that we are a city, a vibrant city, and we're open to anybody. And we're looking for businesses, and no matter how big or how small, we're filling up spaces. We're doing the best we can to fill up some of the empty storefronts or some of the spaces. And these folks right here have made a commitment in our city, and I just want to give all of them a shout out and thank them for what they're doing. My first order of business after becoming mayor in the first couple of weeks, I had the honor of swearing in 2 new police officers here right in this room for our police department. And these were young folks. One was Nick Wazalowski and Riley Powers. Both these young adults are in their 20s, and at a time right now when it seems more difficult to get people to enter the police profession. Every time we give a test, it seems like the numbers are smaller and smaller of people taking a test to become a police officer. And to see these young people here that have were sworn in and dedicating their lives to the safety service is really something to be proud of, and I just want to give a shout out to them as well. So that was really an honor there. Another honor I had this summer is we have our own Captain Gina DeFito Staub, who's in the fire department. And I'm sure everybody knows that she was sworn in as the first fire chief in the village of Woodmere in Cuyahoga County. So I was invited there to say a few words on her behalf when they did her swearing in, and that was really an honor as well, to watch Gina being sworn in, or Captain Gina being sworn in, and I really enjoyed that, and she was beaming from ear to ear, and she really deserves it. And I've talked with the chief, and I've talked with the assistant chief, and Gina, she worked for it and deserves it, so good, another shout out to her. A couple meetings that I had. The county has a program. It's called the Wellness Program, and I've got to sit in, and these are virtual meetings that they have with businesses in our community, and it's kind of like a wellness checkup on them. And the first one we had was with VMS, which is around 82 there. That's our first business. The other one was PepsiCo. Of course, Pepsi, that's in our community. And we go on these virtual meetings, and there's county people there and representatives from the businesses there, our finance director's there, I'm there, and we get to talk with these folks and just see, it's a wellness check to see how they're doing. And not only, I think that's an important part, because not only the new businesses coming in, which are hard to do, but retaining business that we already have here. Business retention, I think, is number one on my list at this point. And being able to sit and talk with these folks and listen to them and hear what some of their hardships are and what their successes are, and why they're here in the city of Twinsburg and what they like about Twinsburg. I mean, you can't replace that kind of dialogue that we're having with them. And the county folks are there to help and do whatever they can to help them be successful, of course, to stay in Summit County, and we're there to help to support them to stay in the city of Twinsburg. So I attended a couple of those meetings, and again, those are, I think those are invaluable. We need to do those as often as they'll do it. Another thing, this is a big thing. I've been getting a lot of calls on the gas
the gas agreement that we've had in the past for our natural gas. The gas prices have gone up, and our contract was up with the current supplier. So our new contract ends at the end of September, and the new contract will start in October. So we have a consulting firm that goes out and they check these gas prices on our behalf, and so we get feedback every week on what the gas prices are that week, and the gas prices have been fluctuating. Anybody watching your bills, I know your electric's going up and down, your gas is going to be going up. Nothing has stayed the same with the way the economy is. Our fuel price costs are gone up, our groceries are gone up. So the gas has gone up, and I've seen rates in the $5 range. I've seen them in the $7, $8, and $9 range. So they've been fluctuating all over the place. So for the last probably 5 weeks, we've been following this with them. And we finally had to land on a price that we were going to stay with because we had to make a commitment eventually. And it came time last week that we had to make our commitment because they've got to get things ready, get letters out to the residents, and then get ready to start on October 1st. Long story short, our price has been under $3 an MCF for our natural gas, and unfortunately now the price and that was a 3-year agreement. The price that we wound up landing on is 6.337 is going to be our new natural gas price. So it has increased, and that's with IGS Energy. It's a 2-year agreement that I've obligated the city to for 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years. You could have got a little bit of lesser rate to go that long, but I didn't think that it was a good idea to obligate us or commit us to any longer when I still see that these gas prices are going to be fluctuating, and I think next year we're going to see a little different picture. The good thing about this agreement that we have for 2 years, the 6.337, is that the residents, you and I, can opt out of this program at any time. So if you join on board with what the city's negotiated, you can opt out of it at any time with no penalty if you find somebody else that you get a lesser price from. So that's been a big thing. I've been getting a lot of calls on that and a lot of inquiry on that. And there will be letters going out at the beginning of, within the next week or two. Letters will be coming out to all the residents and telling you how to switch and what the rates are going to be and so on and so forth. Aside from that, I think that, another big meeting that we had, and I was there with our finance director, Sarah, and our law director, Matt Vizana. I'd called a meeting with the county executive, Eileen Shapiro. And I wanted to go down there and meet with her. I'd met her once before when she'd come to Twinsburg, but I wanted to go there, and as the new representative for the city, I wanted to meet her. I wanted to bring these two folks with me, and we had a really, really nice conversation and talk with the county executive. Our goal was, I think, to just let them know that Twinsburg's here. Twinsburg, sometimes because we're so north in the county, I think sometimes we might be forgotten about a little bit, and people wonder, where are you at? Are you in Summit County? Are you in Cuyahoga County? Well, we're in Summit County, and Twinsburg's here. We're alive and well, and we're doing well, and we want to be part of Summit County. We want to be part of their programs. They have a lot of nice programs that sometimes we could take advantage of, and some things that she would love to come out here and be invited to our city and be included as well. And she said just in those words. So again, we went there and I think we had a really nice meeting. It was a nice conversation, and I'm trying to open up communications with our executive and be a part of Summit County, which is where we're located. So that was really nice. And again, the summer was, the last few weeks have been really busy, and they've been exciting, and I'm looking forward to more of that. So I think at this point, I covered everything. Yeah, that's it. Other than that, did I mention the BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals that I sit on? They had no meetings scheduled this summer, and we have no meetings scheduled right now so far either. So there'll be no Board of Zoning Appeal meetings. Other than that, that's the end of my report. Thank you. Thanks for being here again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Department head reports. Do we have any of the department heads reporting this evening?
Just Sarah, maybe. Sarah, do you have a report?
Ms.
Sure.
Bucci-Gross.
Good evening, Council. So the July financials are posted and available online. Our August income tax revenues, we're still looking good. Year to date, we are actually up over $1 million from last year. So we are just shy of 17 million, where last year we were just shy of 16 million. So we're still keeping a very close eye on our income taxes, but that's very good news in compared to where we thought we might be this year. Our audit has been released. Also good news there. The city received a clean opinion. And we also published on our website our first popular annual financial report, which takes that large annual financial statement and does some highlights that are easily readable. And then we also have the financial health indicators were released by the state. So we just have the one yellow item, so it's comparable to last year's versus, a few years ago we did have a couple red items from our general fund reserves. So we're still looking good there on those financial health indicators, and we will go over those at the next Finance Committee meeting, which will be September 13th. Also, at that September 13th Finance Committee meeting, we will hear from the Capital Improvement Board. They had their second meeting tonight where they heard requests from Safety Services, Police, Fire, Dispatch. Last week, they heard requests from Parks, Engineering, Golf. So next week, they'll hear from the final two departments, which is wastewater and service. And then after that, they'll do their voting and they'll bring their recommendations to Finance Committee at that September meeting. On the IT side of things, you may have noticed that the sign out front was just placed. That actually just got installed today. So we're going to be doing some training so that we can get good information and you'll be able to see from both sides of the road, the same information. So that's going to be really helpful for everyone in the community, I think. We are excited about that. And then we also, over the summer, IT worked really hard on some increased security items. And we appreciate the employees' participation in that to try to keep our cybersecurity as high as possible. And then we also are finishing up that project where we transferred from Johnson Controls to Redshift for our access controls, and we're back matched up with the schools, which is nice and helps us with some compatibility with some of the work the police does. That's all I've got for today. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. All right, moving on. Item number 9, legislation. We'll start this evening with Ordinance 72, 2022.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 15, 2022, the appropriation ordinance for the city of Twinsburg for the year 2022, and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 72, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I second.
Mrs. Walker seconds. The reason for the emergency is that we can make adjustments to these accounts and payments can be made as soon as possible. Any discussion on the emergency? All right, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes?
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
All right, the emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 72, 2022 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second. I yield.
I'll take it.
Mr. Pellin seconds. Any further discussion on 72, 2022? All right, hearing none. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
All right, 72, 2022 passes as an emergency, 7-0. Ordinance 73, 22.
An ordinance establishing a special revenue fund titled One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 73, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. The reason for the emergency is that we need to get the fund set up to properly record receipt of distributions. Further discussion on the emergency? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
All right, the emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt 73, 2022 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. Any further discussion on 73? All right, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ordinance 73, 2022 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving on, Resolution 74, 2022.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for April, May, and June 2022.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 74, 2022. May I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion? This is sort of housekeeping. We do this quarterly. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
All right, Resolution 74, 2022 passes 7-0. Ordinance 75, 2022.
An ordinance amending Section 105.01 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Twinsburg, describing and identifying new wards and boundaries in accordance with the report of the Districting Commission as required by Section 3.02 of the Charter of the City of Twinsburg, and declaring an emergency. But
Right, so Ordinance 75, 2022 is going to be read 3 times, and it will be passed on an emergency. So that was the first reading. Moving on, Ordinance 76, 2022.
an ordinance requesting the fiscal officer of Summit County, Ohio to accept certification of delinquent sanitary sewer rentals and water fund maintenance charges as compiled and placed on record in the office of the Twinsburg Finance Director and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 76, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Labby seconds. The reason for the emergency is to get these items to the county by the September deadline. Any further discussion? All right, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
The emergency clause passes 7-0. And now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 76, 2022 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Yield.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any further discussion on 76? Hearing none. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Ordinance 76, 2022 passes as an emergency 7-0. Ordinance 77, 2022.
An ordinance enacting new Chapter 919 illicit discharge and illegal connection controls of the Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code of the City of Twinsburg.
All right, Ordinance 77, 2022 now stands on its first reading. Ordinance 78, 2022.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Matt Winters Excavating LLC for the 2022 Glenwood Drive sanitary lateral replacement and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 78, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I second.
Mrs. Walker seconds. The reason for the emergency is so that we can get contracts signed and materials ordered as this project is scheduled for this fall. Any further discussion on the emergency? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes?
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
The emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 78, 2022 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. Any further discussion on 78? All right, hearing none. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Ordinance 78, 2022 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving along, Resolution 79, 2022.
A resolution authorizing a conditional use permit for a residential communications tower at 8960 Gettysburg Drive pursuant to Section 1165.09 Towers in Residential Districts as recommended by the Planning Commission.
I'd make a motion to adopt Resolution 79, 2022. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Labby seconds. Any further discussion? As I mentioned in my planning report, this did pass unanimously and by the planning commissioners. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
All right, Resolution 79, 2022 passes as an emergency. No, I'm sorry, passes 7-0. Apologies. Ordinance 80, 2022.
An ordinance authorizing the lease of 2 used vehicles through Kempthorne Incorporated for use by the police department and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 80, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Reason for the emergency is to secure the vehicles as soon as possible. Any further discussion on the emergency? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
With the emergency clause passes 7-0, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 80, 2022 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion on 80, 2022? Hearing none, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Ordinance 80, 2022 passes as an emergency, 7-0. Moving on to unfinished business, new business, or miscellaneous. Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. I just want to wish all the students out there a happy and safe school year. Nothing further. Thank you.
Mrs. Walker.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Fury.
Our Community Hunger Center, which is located at 9733 Ravenna Road, Suite G, is in desperate need of food and donations. Their phone number is 330-963-FOOD, 330-963-3663. If you can help them, please do. I also had was able to attend Twins Day, fabulous weekend. We should all be proud. I had the opportunity last Friday to attend a senior picnic with Mayor Scafidi, where we served food and helped deliver door prizes. So we've done that together for at least the last 6 years, and it's a lot of fun. Lastly, I work out of my house now. And my company has categorized me as a remote employee. Why does anybody care? Because as a remote employee, I was able to contact my HR group, which is in Denver, and they have switched my income tax to be used at the city of Twinsburg versus Solon, where we had an office. So if you're a Twinsburg resident and you're working out of your house, please consider contacting your employer and see if they'll let you switch your income tax to the city of Twinsburg, because just as we are losing some income tax revenue as some of our larger employers are allowing people to work out of their house, in my neighborhood, on my cul-de-sac, I think nobody's driving to work anymore. Everybody's working out of their house most of the time. So if you can work it out, and if you're a remote employee, please consider contacting your HR and see if you can have your income tax credited to the city of Twinsburg. That's all I have this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fury. Mr. Pope?
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Just a couple things. I did also attend the Twins Days. It was a really good time. I was a judge all day on Sunday, and it's amazing when you're asked to take all these people who look exactly alike and say which one really looks alike. And it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed the day. And I'll judge again next year for my third year. So it was a really good time. I also want to say thank you to Mayor Scafidi. I know at the last meeting I was talking about every time I'm here, I drink a bottle of water and I take it home sometimes to recycle it. I want to thank you. I can see in the back of the room we now have a recycle bin, and I don't know where else to put them in the city. You want to
There's 5 of them in City Hall.
Where'd you put in 5 of them throughout the building here?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fabulous. I just want to say thank you very much for taking care of that over the summer. I think that it's a step in the right direction, and maybe we can get it more placed around the city as we grow. So, thank you, I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
And that is all I have, thank you.
Mr. Post, thank you. Mrs. Levy?
Nothing further from me. Thank you.
Mr. Scafidi?
Just one thing, I want to give a shout out as well. I forgot that I did attend the senior picnic with Mr. Fury, and it was once again a success. And I want to thank Laura. Laura does so much good for our seniors. Those folks love her, and she really is a light in their day and in their activities. So Laura and her staff, I just want to shout out to them for what a wonderful job they do for the seniors and for the city. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Vazana, anything this evening?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right. Mrs. Butchicross?
Yes, I just wanted to let you know, you may see something in the news about the City of Twinsburg Police Department receiving an Ohio Violent Crime Reduction Grant Program funds. Just so you know, we have not received official word from the state on that grant that we've received. That's a press release that's out there. But as soon as we get the official notice, Chief will come here with Lieutenant Donato and present the grant as well as what those funds would be used for.
Wonderful, appreciate that. Mrs. Collins, anything?
Nothing this evening.
All right. I do have 2 items. I'd like to make a motion this evening. The motion is that the City Council rescinds its previous request for a hearing and does not oppose a new liquor permit request for Kyra and Sons Incorporated, DBA Super 8 Twinsburg, located at 8848 Twin Hills Parkway, and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Post, second. Any further discussion on that, or Mr. Vazana, anything you'd care to add specifically to that?
Are there any questions from council? I guess I would ask first.
This was the one that we were concerned of the type of liquor permit, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
As I understand it, I believe the initial concern from council and what led to the request for a hearing was, as you said, Mr. Bell, what type of liquor permit are they seeking? Upon investigation, and I also spoke with the applicant's legal counsel and asked the applicant's legal counsel to prove to the city, that they were falling within a certain category. I was able to uncover that they have a food service license at the Super 8. They provide, I believe, uncooked breakfasts, and then they have a vending machine, and that indeed in the state of Ohio can qualify you for a food service license, which they provided. And the permit that they're seeking is for a hotel or a motel that has a food service license, and it does indeed permit you the ability to sell prepackaged liquor bottles, such as minibar type bottles. And I believe, according to the legal counsel for the hotel, their intent is to offer the sale of these bottles from behind the counter where you check in as a part of their operations. I myself and fire and police chief were obviously going to keep a close eye on it. I think this is the first permit of this type in the city, and should there be any other issues that emerge from this, we'll keep council informed. But at this point, I advised the clerk and the council to rescind the request, as you said, for the hearing. The clerk will fill out a form, and then I will also notify the hearing board that we no longer are seeking that hearing, and that we don't oppose the issuance of the permit because it fits the statutory requirements for issuance.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about that one?
Thank you for your diligence and explanation of that. Appreciate it. Hearing no further discussion, Shannon, would you please call the roll on that motion?
Mr. Barr?
Yes?
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
No.
Okay, the motion passes 6-1. The second motion, more of a housekeeping item, I'd like to make is that City Council does not oppose the transfer of a liquor permit from Sushi N Twinsburg Incorporated to Sushi N CLE LLC, located on Haddon Road, and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. This is just to transfer a D5 permit. May I have a second?
Second. Yep.
Mr. Post, I think?
Sure.
Mr. Post seconds, okay. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes?
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0. Okay, that concludes miscellaneous. We have no members to excuse this evening. I'd like to make a final motion here that we sort of reconvene or move into an executive session to finish discussing matters pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121-22G13, personnel and pending litigation. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion on that? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes?
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We shall return as the report back.